I've been longing to cover this case for a long time now. I've been waiting for information to get released, although the sentencing has not been made, and it may take another 6 months to get a verdict. So today I'm going to discuss about the incident that took place recently about the Idaho student murders. I'm sure most of you guys have heard about this already, as it's been all over the news lately. So without any further ado, let's get on with the case. But before we get on with the case, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post a new video. So the four University of Idaho students, Ethan Chapin, who was 20, and Chapin was a freshman. He was from Conway, Washington. Kaylee Goncalves, 21. She was from Rathdrum, Idaho, and she was a senior at that time. Zana Kernodle, 20. She was from Avondale, Arizona, but she later lived in Post Falls, Idaho. And lastly, Madison Morgan, who was 21, and she was from Shore d'Alene, Idaho, and she was a senior. The three female victims, Madison Morgan, Kaylee Goncalves, and Zana Kernodle, lived at the house, while the fourth victim, Ethan Chapin, was Kernodle's boyfriend who was sleeping over on the night of the attacks. Two other female roommates also lived at the house, but they were not attacked. Earlier on the evening of November 12, two of the four victims, Chapin and Kernodle, were at an on-campus party at the nearby Sigma Chi fraternity from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. They returned home at 1:45 a.m. That evening, the other two victims and best friends, Morgan and Goncalves, had gone to the Corner Club, a downtown sports bar, at 10 p.m., from which they departed at 1:30 a.m. A live-streamed video by the Grub truck, a food truck 4 blocks south at Friendship Square, showed Morgan and Goncalves at 1:41 a.m., chatting and smiling, getting their food 10 minutes later, and leaving to take what the police initially said was an Uber ride home, a trip of about 1 mile.
It's chilling video of two University of Idaho students hours before they were brutally murdered. Kaylee Gonzalez in the white hoodie and her friend Madison Morgan were at a popular food truck near the campus.
I would like the carbonara.
Look, one man appears to be watching them. The time, 1:30 a.m. After ordering, Maddie sees a friend and embraces him. When their food comes, Kaylee takes a short video to post on social media, and they walk off together. Look, the man gestures towards them and then heads in the same direction. It's believed police know who he is.
All four students were home by 1:56 a.m. 7 uncompleted phone calls were made from the phone of Goncalves to her former longtime boyfriend, a fellow student, from 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. Morgan also called the boyfriend 3 times with similar results from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m. These calls were investigated, with the police concluding they did not believe he was involved in the crime, so he was cleared out. Kernodle received a DoorDash order at around 4 a.m. in the morning. The two surviving roommates had returned home by 1 a.m., and original reports said they were in their beds on the ground floor of the home at the time of the killings. They were not attacked or held hostage, and original reports stated that both surviving roommates did not awaken during the killings. However, the affidavit for the case said that one surviving roommate was sleeping on the second floor, the same floor as Kernodle and Chapin, before she was awakened by what sounded like Goncalves and her dog. She later heard a roommate saying something, "There's someone here." The roommate believed this was said by Goncalves, although investigators also believe this might have been Kernodle speaking, as a forensic download of her cell phone showed that she was on the app TikTok at 4:12 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door twice within a short span of time, and the second time she heard what sounded like crying coming from Colonel's room and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Security cameras near the home picked up the sound of whimpering, a loud thud, and a dog barking numerous times, starting around 4:17 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door a third time and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose, walking towards her. The man, whom the roommate did not recognize, walked past her and used the sliding glass door to exit. It is unknown if the man saw her. The roommate stood in a frozen shock phase and then locked herself in her room. The 4 victims were stabbed to death on the second and third floors in the home where they had been in bed. The victims were not gagged or restrained, and the walls at the scene were splattered with blood. Morgan and Goncalves were found in Morgan's bedroom, and Kernodle and Chapin was found in Kernodle's room. No calls to 911 were made until 11:58 a.m., many hours after the early morning killings. At that time, a call was made from inside the residence from the cell phone of one of the surviving students who lived at the residence, asking for aid for an unconscious person. When police arrived, the door to the home was open. There was no sign of forced entry or damage inside the home, and nothing appeared to be missing. The 2 surviving roommates were in the residence when the police arrived, as were other friends of the victims. The surviving roommates had called friends over to the home because they believed one of the second-floor victims were unconscious and was not waking up. The identity of the 911 caller was not released, and the person was not considered a suspect. Unfortunately, all 4 victims were pronounced deceased at 12 noon. Detectives believe the killings occurred sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. That night, officers came upon Goncalves' dog, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, alive and unharmed at the house. The investigation of the stabbings is being conducted by the Moscow Police Department, supported by the Idaho State Police and the Latah County Sheriff's Office. In all, almost 130 members of law enforcement from the 3 agencies began working on the case. The Latah County coroner conducted autopsies on the 4 victims on November 17. She said they all appeared to have been stabbed multiple times with fatal wounds in the chest and upper body with a large knife. They may not have been the same knife, but quite similar ones, she said. At least one victim with what were apparently defensive stab wounds on her hands, and possibly more appeared to have tried to fend off the attacker, and the victims may have been attacked while sleeping in their beds. None showed signs of sexual assault. All 4 deaths were deemed homicide by stabbing. The victims were not tied and gagged. No weapon has been recovered, although the police believe the killer or killers used a fixed blade knife. On November 19, police requested the public to provide any video of the house that had been recorded the night of the killings. A phone tip line and email were created for students and others to submit potential evidence to officials. As of December 5, it was reported that there had been more than 2,600 emailed tips, 2,700 phone calls, and 1,000 digital media submissions from the public to these tip lines. On December 24, the investigative team reported having received at least 15,000 tips regarding the case. Initially, the police left open the possibility that there could be more than one perpetrator. Police stated that they believe it was a targeted attack, but have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants. In a November 23 press conference, the Moscow police chief said the authorities had received a number of tips, including that Goncalves allegedly had a stalker, but were unable to verify that claim or identify any such individual at that time. After receiving hundreds of tips from the public, On December of 15, police announced they were searching records for approximately 22,000 fifth-generation Hyundai Elantra that were made between 2010 and 2015. A camera in the area of the killings had captured an image of an Elantra around the time when killings happened. Investigators noticed that the white Hyundai Elantra that was captured by a camera during the time of the killings appeared to travel in the direction of Pullman, Washington, and twice to the apartment of the victims. Surveillance video also showed an Elantra passing by the victim's home 3 times, beginning around 3:29 a.m. At 4:04 a.m., the Elantra returned to the home for a 4th time. At 4:20 a.m., the vehicle was seen leaving the victim's neighborhood at a high rate of speed. Investigators traced the ownership of this vehicle to a local individual, Bryan Kohberger, who drove the car with his father to the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania for the holidays. He was pulled over twice within a nearly 5-mile radius by Indiana State Police on Interstate 70 outside Greenfield, Indiana, for speeding and tailgating.
Kohberger, the man accused of killing 4 Idaho college students. Kohberger's father in the passenger seat. The deputy asks for his driver's license.
He was right up on the back end of that van, pulled you over for tailgating.
Kohberger's father tells the deputy they're driving from Washington State, where Kohberger was a grad student. In a conversation, he mentioned it was the scene of a shooting.
And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
Yeah, there was a mass shooting and everything. We don't know.
Where? Interesting.
Wow, it's horrifying.
Wow.
The deputy gives him a warning.
But do me a favor and don't follow too close, okay? All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Hands back his license. Kohberger and his father are free to go.
The FBI denied allegations that they had directed the Indiana State Police to make the stops. Investigators obtained cell phone data that showed that Kohberger's phone stopped connecting to the network around 2:46 a.m. in the Pullman on November 13, before reconnecting around 4:48 a.m. near Blaine, Idaho, which is near State Highway 95 south of Moscow. Cell phone data also shows that he was near the victim's residence around 9 a.m. on November 13, approximately 5 hours after the killings. Police also obtained data that indicated that he was near the residence at least 12 times between June 2022 and November 13. Investigators had additionally obtained a sample of DNA from the crime scene that did not belong to any of the victims. The DNA was found on a tan leather knife sheath on Morgan's bed. Using a public genealogy database, authorities identified a partial match to an individual with a familial connection to Kohberger. Investigators then traced the DNA to Kohberger by matching it to DNA found on the trash that was recovered from his family's home in Pennsylvania. Prior to the arrest, investigators monitored Kohberger outside of his parents' Pennsylvania home. He was seen multiple times wearing surgical gloves and observed putting trash bags inside of the garbage can of a neighbor. The items were sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. Authorities also said Kohberger had cleaned his car inside and outside, not missing an inch of area. A surviving roommate who saw the suspect described him as a male stranger that was around 5 feet 10 inches and not very muscular but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. A 28-year-old man, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, was taken into custody by an FBI SWAT team and Pennsylvania State Police on December 30th at the home of his parents in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. But who exactly is Kohberger? Kohberger was born on November 21, 1994 in Albrightsville, and he grew up and lived in the Allentown, Bethlehem, Eastern area of Pennsylvania for most of his life. Kohberger's parents were originally natives of Brooklyn, New York. Shortly after finishing Pleasant Valley High School in 2013, he attended Monroe Career and Technical Institute in Bartonsville but dropped out a year later. Kohberger later attended Northampton Community College in Bethlehem, where he earned an associate degree in psychology in 2018. After graduating from Northampton, he worked as a security guard for the Pleasant Valley School District, the same school district where his father previously worked as a maintenance worker for many years, and his mother for a time as a substitute teacher. He received a BA in 2020 and an MA in 2022 in criminal justice. Then he moved to Washington State to pursue a PhD in the same field at Washington State University in Pullman and had completed his first semester there 9 days before his arrest. Kohberger was finally arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony count of burglary, was appointed a public defender, and detained without bond at the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. On his return to the Monroe County Courthouse in January 3, 2023, he agreed to extradition. On January 4th, he was flown to Idaho and was taken to the Idaho County Jail in Idaho, where he was held without bail. Kohberger made his first appearance in the Idaho County Courthouse on January 5, 2023, and was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary for breaking into a home with the intent to commit a felony. 1 week later, on January 12, 2023, Kohberger made his second appearance for a status conference in the same room at the Idaho County Courthouse. A preliminary probable cause hearing was scheduled for June 26, 2023 at the Idaho County Courthouse.
Emotionless, as our Alexandra Duggan reports, since she was inside that courtroom. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. He's also accused of unlawfully entering the King Road home with the intent to commit murder. The judge ordered no bail as he continues to sit here at the Latah County Jail. He was also issued a no-contact order for the victims' families. He could face the death penalty or life in prison if found guilty. He was appointed a public defender, and his next hearing is set for January 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. That's going to be a status hearing, and then they'll set the preliminary hearing or probable cause hearing at that time. I saw some family members of the students who were killed joining the hearing virtually this morning from the overflow room.
The fathers of Goncalves and Chapin criticized the limited flow of information from the police and university to the families of the victims. TikTokers, self-proclaimed psychics, and social media users began to speculate and spread rumors and misinformation about the case on social media. In response, the Moscow Police Department criticized the internet sleuths for creating rampant online rumors and disrupting investigations. In a December 2 news release, they said, "There is speculation without factual backing, stoking community fears, and spreading false facts." Moscow Police Captain Roger Lanier said, "Tracking down rumors and quelling rumors about specific information and specific events that may not have happened is a huge distraction. We are not releasing specific details as we do not want to compromise the investigation." They also warned that people harassing or threatening those potentially involved with the case could face criminal charges.
At this time in the investigation, detectives do not believe the female associate professor and chair of the history department at the University of Idaho, suing a TikTok user for defamation, is involved in the crime. The Moscow Police Department will not provide a statement about the ongoing civil process. Of course, this one continuing on as the history professor at the University of Idaho suing a cyber network for defamation after the would-be detective accused her of involvement in the campus slayings last month. The personality Ashley Guillard accused Rebecca Schofield, an associate professor and chair of the history department, of perpetrating the murders of 4 students at the University of University in Moscow, Idaho. The lawsuit filed last Wednesday points to numerous videos posted on the platform that attempted to tie the teachers to the killing. As this statement continues to go on from Moscow police, here is saying that there have been numerous inquiries from members of the public and media to verify digital media published online. Any picture or video provided through the official public records request process is authentic. However, once a record is released, we can no longer verify its authenticity, as we do not know if anything has been altered. Detectives are aware of videos distributed by local businesses. Of course, this continues.
On the evening of November 13, the university cancelled classes for November 14. It also scheduled a candlelight vigil to be held on the UI administration building lawn on the evening of November 16, then postponed it 2 weeks. From the day of the killings, investigators initially said that there was no risk to the community. 3 days later, however, Moscow Police Chief James Fry said, "We cannot say that there is no threat to the community." Because of weather concerns, the candlelight vigil was moved indoors to the Kibik Dome and held on the evening of November 30. And that's everything we know about the case right now. I'll obviously let you know if any information is released regarding this case. And that's all we have for today for you guys. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.